man. Yes. Another evening. And let me tell you, it's good to be here to relax and all and not deal with any sort of issues. But then again, there's that moment where women are once again saying that these movies that are coming will scare the hell out of men. Women that are mad about Stellar Blade. And then, of course, women that are just mad in general. So let's get to the bottom of this nonsense then. Welcome to the J-Man Show here on
J360 Radio!
Hey, how's it going, J360 Legion? What is happening? This is J-Man, of course, and welcome to episode 324 of the J-Man Show. It feels so good to be back, y'all. I mean, I know we're a little late tonight. I had a very busy day at the day job today, so kind of had to dial things back at least an hour. But like I say, I'm here every day, and J-Man is back here on the J-Man Show. And it's just like, yes. Hey, the 11th spot is just as good as the 10th spot, only just as later. But you know what? Let me just say this, guys. In this event of peak ignorance, I gotta say, or, modern day stupidity, isn't it amazing how we're all still having that same argument about equality and everything, which you hope that we're all, who's winning the war, baby? I just don't know anymore. Because there are times where I feel as though, like, we've gotten better, and then there are times where it's like, no, we fell off. We fell back. So you can see it in like a lot of things such as like advertisements where like, the woman is smarter than the man and all this other stuff. Like I saw this money lending ad one time where the guy was holding a baby and he bought like all this junk food and crap instead of buying diapers for his child. And then he said to his wife that they're kind of broke right now, so like there's no way that they could have like diapers and all that stuff. And she talked about like what the actual app was for the money lending so they can get by until their next paycheck. But it's like she went to go get the diapers because, buying them are so hard for the father to do. And it's like you look at that shit and then you're like, wow. There are stupid people in the world. Note I said people. But it's like this. Nobody's that incompetent to not buy diapers for their kid. Nobody. You know what I mean? The little bastard will be crying multiple times when it gets home and all that other stuff because it's not familiar with its environment. And lots of parents lose sleep and all that stuff. I mean, after a while, when the child gets comfortable and everything, you do realize that eventually, like, they're going to wrap it up. They're going to know what to do at that moment in time, right? You know what I mean? Usually the first kid is like a trial. The second kid, they usually figure it out. Third kid, shoot, there ain't no chance that they'll ever miss on that one. But it's like, usually, it's just weird with that stuff. Or like, you look at any car sales ad where it's always the man made a stupid decision, but all of a sudden the woman magically appears and, like she gets the best deal, the best bargain and all. It's like, it's like this. If you're not educated on matters like on how to do barter and commerce and all that, yeah, that might be an issue. But here's the thing. Women and men need each other. You know what I'm saying? We need each other to make a functional society. Now, the problem is with all this stuff that is equality-based, gender politics, identity politics, and all that stuff, there is no end. There is no satisfaction in this stuff because it's so limitless. You know what I mean? And one thing that you may fix, there's another thing that will never be fixed. There's another thing that will never even be thought of until, the non-issue becomes an issue loud enough. And even then, there's no end game to it. Like when you look at like wages and stuff, we all need a livable wage. I mean, every single one of us do. And then the crazy thing is, why did they shortchange on the women? Did you know that there are women out there who are in power that are not trying to help other women grow in terms of income? You know what I mean? But then there are some of you out there that love to do the women, women helping women movement. Right. It was a beautiful dream at one time, but, at the end of the day, did it work in the years prior? Because there are moments where, like, you realize women lifting women. Some women are just not about that, because much like how people are in friendship, yeah, they want you to be successful, but they don't want you to be nowhere near as successful as they are. Insecurities abound, baby. That really should be the name of this episode, but it's really a whole lot of insecurities that come out. And as I'm saying this stuff, I'm pointing it out in media, because guess what we spend the most time with sometimes? Our media messages. Somebody selling something on an ad, or some sort of funny video, or any of this other stuff that we see here. And I'm not saying in terms of censorship, but at the end of the day, it's like this. In notes of storytelling, okay, so, it has to be the woman to be the best version. No, it should be the man that's the best version. Well, what about like a happy, united relationship? Oh, we don't know anything about that, Jay. See, stuff like that. You know what I mean? Like, I could go into like racial discrimination. I can go into any forms of those things, but it's like this. If you are lifting one side up and damning the other, isn't that discrimination at best? Because you're making one side take the fall, whereas the other side is rising. You're making it seem like that this stuff is actually what real life is. If you think about it, in real life, things are random. There are people, regardless of race, regardless of weight, regardless of anything, that are thriving while other people don't. That's the reality of it. Like, if you're going to go ahead and put people in the categories, because as we want to do, to make sure our data is okay and all that crazy jazz, we always have to downplay certain people. We always have to categorize them. We don't ask them questions. We just take a look at all this other stuff to utilize as this whole thing. That's just not the way it works. You know? Analytics-wise, because analytics can be wrong sometimes, especially if you have so much control over it. Now, there are women out here that are the breadwinner. I'm not going to knock that. There are men out here that are breadwinners. Not going to knock that. You know, like, for some people, they don't see like any of the stuff where 50-50 is a good thing. They don't see it like where relationships, like the man and the woman should be helping each other, you know what I mean? Educating each other on matters and stuff too. It's always got to be some lame, something stupid or out of place for, like, you know, contentions to come into play. You know what I mean? If you didn't get a raise this year, well, honey, I didn't get a raise this year either. That's equality, right? It is, in an inverse way, yes. You know what I mean? Like, when you're not both doing these things. But the problem is that everybody's got to be smug about what they have. Everybody's got to be all bragging about this and that. Everybody's got to be always ahead of one another, instead of just actually, like, lifting each other and working together to finish that end game. You know? And that could be, like, divided into class and all that stuff. But you see it in movies all the time. Why has it got to be always the rich, pompous bitch to go ahead and talk about what she came from, what she owned, what's it all about, and why at the end of the day, like, certain men are just not worth her time and stuff like that. But you realize this, she's lonely and she needs somebody. Yeah, that's some crazy shit, right? You know, and in realism, there are men out here that, you know, honestly, they just want companionship. And the loneliness epidemic is all in rage, and everybody's always talking about this and that, but it's so disproportionate when it comes to it. Like, you know, like when somebody criticizes the person that's on OnlyFans, and they're like, you shouldn't criticize me. There's a woman, there's a person on the other side of the screen. Yeah, there's a person on the other side of this screen, too, that's paying in on this shit, looking at your ass doing these things. And the thing is, they're not really enjoying it. And yes, they can opt out at any time, but it's like, you know, at the end of the day, when they criticize you, it's like everybody's going to get criticized one way or another. Even me for this episode, I'm doing it during Women's Month. Don't you know I'm already in trouble? But at the end of the day, I don't give a fuck. So it's like, you know, yes. At the end of the day, it's like when people are sitting here and they don't understand, like, what criticism is, it's like, you talk about your financial freedom. You talk about, like, how successful you are on these fan-based websites and all that stuff. You talk about all these things as a form of empowerment, but there's always somebody that's going to check it and say, you know what? Here's the thing. If you are thriving like this and stuff, you don't have to flex it, right? But you do have to flex it so people can keep interested in you. I've seen it. Like, the 1% in all of the creators on OnlyFans. Yada, yada, yada. Bullshit. You know what I mean? Yeah, you that this week. Next week is going to be something different. It's like this, look. nobody's trying to knock you for any of that stuff. What it is that, like, in terms of real equality, we all have the ability to make our lives and our dreams come true. That's what it's about. But then in the end, when you think about it, a lot of women out here, they want to be praised for some of the most mundane, dumb shit. Or, like, you know, like some dudes out here, they want to be praised for doing what they supposed to be doing. It's like, you know, I go to work every day. No shit, man. So do I. You know, it's like, yeah, you need to. You better. Because rent is due all the time. That's the way you should be thinking about, like, when it comes to your commerce and your money and stuff like that. And some of you have achieved that financial freedom, but I'll never look at you as a hero. No, not at all. And I do that for men and women. Because, like, it's possible for anybody to go ahead and do these things. You know what I mean? That low effort money making. I mean, do what you got to do, but it's the oldest form of marketing ever. And then there are people out there that don't know any better about their own money, so they're not as conscientious about things. And if we can go back to media, like with movies and stuff like that, I wish wholeheartedly that production teams and directors would just sell their movie without it having to be a damn agenda bait bullshit. You know what I'm saying? It's like, oh, this movie will scare the living hell out of men. Okay. Nice job, Elizabeth Banks. Great job, Kristen Stewart. You have alienated anybody who gives a fuck about your film now because you had to go into gender-based politics. You had to go and talk about, like, oh, you know, hey, guess what? Men, this is not for you. Great job, Brie Larson. That's not the way that works. When you're in media, your goal is to get consumptions, clicks, attention, and then sell your product. That's what you do, even in movies. And the thing about it is, like, in the movie and stuff like that, I want to know what the character you're portraying is going through. I want to know if they're going to climb through their struggles to be a part of their industry and do what they love to do. I want to know, like, why I should care about the plight of this person. You know what I mean? You know, all these movies that are made by women are tanking, or any of these movies that are dealing with straight men that have to bend to every damn woman's will and stuff like that. These movies are tanking too. Like, and Kevin Feige is notorious for this nonsense as well. Victoria Alonso is not at that company anymore, but her stink is just everywhere. In addition to, like, Kathleen Kennedy and all that stuff, who just won an award for, you know, basically just being a woman in media. It's like, stop this nonsense. This pandering is killing creative art. And it's not always women in general. Like, at the end of the day, it's like, why are you going after people like this? Why are you trying to say, like, this isn't for them and this is for blah, 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 and all that stuff? You made a movie. Movies are expensive. If you want this movie to return on its interest, and not to mention the money that was spent making the damn thing, you better be open to everybody who wants to go see movies. Stop the shit, man. It's amazing, though, like, all these movies that come through and they tank like this because of that agenda, whereas Whoopi Goldberg made a movie years ago in the 90s called The Associate, where it just gave the point much better. It's one of my favorite films, believe it or not. She had to create a partner just so all of those egotistical men that ran industry and, you know, marketing firms and all that stuff, just so they pay attention to her because, you know, her being a black woman in New York of all places, trying to thrive in, like, a male-dominated society and stuff, you know, it just wasn't going to work, you know, because of discrimination. But you see, the thing about it is, she even talked about, like, how powerful, like, the term exclusion is a very powerful term, and why, like, people hide behind it. It's a form of control. That's what that is. And see, not only that, as she talked about it, she stopped being the partner that she made. She stopped being the associate and turned right into who she was. And she let them know that they indoctrinated. Well, not indoctrinated. They inducted. Sorry, I'm thinking propaganda stuff. But they inducted their first female member into the group. And she just shattered that whole glass ceiling. Did a better speech than America Ferrera did in fucking Barbie. And just won out in the end. Trust me. This is my recommendation to anybody. Note what I said. It's called The Associate, and it's by Whoopi Goldberg starring in it. And not to mention, it's usually on Tubi. But if you can get the physical release, get the physical release. Because like I said, all this stuff that's going on, this you can be powerful. You can be great. You can be whatever you want to be. I say this to a lot of the girls that I know. I say this to my nieces. I say this to, like, if I ever have daughters, I mean, I'll say it to them. You can be whomever you want to be, and you can run this stuff on your own tail, but stay away from OnlyFans. And while we're on the subject here, okay, don't let nobody use you and abuse you. You grow and you become amazing at what you do. And for God's sakes, don't be an asshole about it. You know what I'm saying? And that's ironic coming from me because people think I'm an asshole anyway. And it's like this. You're an asshole when you stand up against stupidity. You're an asshole when you have your own opinion about things. You're an asshole when you have facts about things. But at the end of the day, it's like, guess what? You're doing it for the right reasons, because unjust actions, like most of this stuff that goes on nowadays in the real world, in media, online, and everything, it's unbelievable. Like people will use the Barbie speech as a way to justify their ignorant shit. And I look at them and I'm like, you think men think this stuff? They want you to be phenomenal. They want you to be incredible and all that kind of stuff. Now, there might be some sexist pigs out here all over the place that want to do that stuff. There might be some people out there that think that you're beneath them and all that stuff. Like I'm not saying that there isn't. There's terrible people everywhere. But the truth is that most of the people that make these complaints are very insecure people. And most of the people that sit here and they drink from this stuff all the time, or they have to sit at somebody's table, or if they do all this coattail riding, or like everything that I mentioned in the mini bite this week, because there are people that can't stand on their own 2 feet. There are people out here that are always wondering and worrying about what the social elites think of them and stuff. Honestly, I stopped giving a fuck about that shit years ago when I was a kid. For real. Most of the time, these complaints come from other people in the same gender, usually. You know what I mean? All that stuff that America Ferrera was talking about in that movie. A woman would criticize another woman. Sometimes the only hindrance to a woman sometimes is another woman, as like the only hindrance to a man is another man. And same thing for non-binary and stuff like that, because once again, this is human nature. There are people out there that are woefully insecure and jealous of other people, and they'll do whatever they can to try to stop you. Or like they'll do whatever they can to point out things that were important to you and that you loved, and then got the nerve to be upset when you call them out on the stuff and you tell them that they were friggin' wrong about it. Trust me, I had to deal with that nonsense not too long ago, telling somebody else, because they tried to talk to me about my business, and I'm like, you mean the business that I put a lot of my effort, put a lot of my effort, quite a bit of my money, quite a bit of all the things I needed to do into it, and made it grow instead of letting it sit there? You're going to talk about that business? That business is doing fine. Worry about your own damn self. And then they got a nerve to be like, well, we're consultants. Yeah, and you lost business. If you've been in business long, you don't come around antagonistic and stuff like that. Yeah, sure, you got my attention, but you don't have my respect. And if you got my attention, you lost it within like 2 seconds because it's stupid. If you got something to say, voice your intention and speak and be about something. But as per usual, we are getting what we want, because like whenever I see like any of them female directors, I'm the first female this, I'm the first blah 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 this, and then you take a look at their work and you're like, well, hell, I can do that on my own time, really. Like, I didn't learn anything from this. And then they get upset about it and stuff like that. It's like, yeah, because at the end of the day, you're thriving on that identity rather than driving on your body of work. You know what I mean? It's just like when good Lord, I can't even think of her name, but the woman that's supposed to be directing the Star Wars Rey movie, is there a script? I always wondered that, like, what was her name? Chinoy, I think that's her name. Let's go by last name. But at the end of the day, it's like when she says what she says. Now, keep in mind, there was a clip floating around, but that was way before she got involved with the Star Wars project. But even then, like with this Star Wars project that's supposed to be coming, is there a script? Like, oh, it's a standalone feature. It's like, I don't give a damn about trilogies right now. You're about to make a Star Wars movie. And regardless of what the cool people say, or regardless of what anybody else says about Star Wars, is that Star Wars is actually a very influential film franchise. It still is to this day. Regardless if the fan base hates new stuff or regardless if the fan base wants new stuff and just can't stand like where does it fit in the lore and all that, you know? It's like this. You have one of the biggest franchises in your hands and you're going to mess it up by saying you like scaring the hell out of men. It's like this. It's like, guess what? These 40-year-old men that you're mad at, these 40-year-old white men that is, they have money. If you are alienating a demographic, you are hemorrhaging money. Not only are you messing up your name and image while you're out there, but people really do act the best of themselves when cameras are on them, don't they? But it's like, not only are you just messing this up, getting people to already dislike you. I mean, of course, there's always going to be those few people out there saying, yeah, she's so brave, she's so bold. Shut the fuck up. Brave and bold is anybody sitting out there listening to this nonsense and being like, Jesus Christ, we're going to make money off of this? That's what that is. You not only have alienated part of your viewership, you have also lost the bag. Now, here's my thing. As an executive and as somebody that would be like in charge of various things, it's like, I don't pick people for teams based off of looks. I don't pick people for teams based off of, the identity politics and all that jazz. If you are able to use a camera, follow a script, able to be, able to speak what is necessary in the project, that's what I want you for. You know what I mean? Like, I know that you're a powerful person. I know that you have a strong body of work. I know that there's a lot about you. That's why I hired you. But if it gets to the point where you shot, you shot too wide and you hemorrhaged the company, I got to talk to you to go ahead and course correct this, or I'm going to have to let you go. And it's really, really sad that people can't see this stuff. Because, hey, you got to fail upwards. Yeah, that only works for one side of the spectrum. It needs to work for everybody. But at the end of the day, failing is like something you learn from. If you keep doing it over and over again, that's madness. You see? So it's weird to me, like how we got to this point. And of course, I have to mansplain it to you, because at the end of the day, they don't want to hear nothing that certain people have to say and stuff or any of the things. Like, when I look at people, it's like, look, we'll make a movie with this in there, but that's not the main crux of your story. Like, if the person, that's like dealing with a villain who does things because the villain is psychotic. You know what I mean? It's vague. You need more than that. You know what I mean? You expect me to care about this individual because this individual is gay or trying to figure out his sexual, what his sexual orientation is. There should be more to it than that. There's lots of stories with that theme in there, but the thing is that guess what? They're usually written better, and they usually are implied to be, but at the end of the day, like, they grow into themselves and know who they are. And in some cases, they know who they are, but they don't want to be that, and they just go to another different way. That's a little bit more interesting to say, oh, we need to be behind this person because they're gay. You see what I'm saying? That's only part of them. You got to be more than this. I don't know why people can't see that. And, like, if you got, like, a venue or if you got, like, any of these things for performing arts, like, have a good time. But there's got to be more to it than, the usual. And that's why a lot of films are boring. That's why a lot of things are pretentious. Or, a lot of ideals will go into things that people already like, such as X-Men. Isn't it a funny thing, too? Like, people hijack X-Men as saying that it's an allegory for the LGBTQ. No, it isn't. It's a damn comic book dealing with superheroes who have the mutant gene in them. I mean, basically, what are you saying? You're saying the LGBTQ are mutants? Is that what you're trying to say? It's crazy because the moral of this whole damn thing is reverse discrimination does not equal equality. When you exclude people out of things, you're going to have a harder time getting them back. You see what I'm saying? Like, especially when you're in the independent game and stuff, and you talk about, like, for women, all for women. What about the men? Or like if you're sitting there like, this is all for the men, all for the alpha dogs, the brothers, all of us. Yeah, this is all for this. No women, no femmes, no feelings. What about the women? You know, what about the targets of our conquest here? If it, with the way you saying it, Chief. You know what I mean? And in a way, as I say these things, because both of those markets and categories are out there, you're all fucking morons. There you go. Yes, I will go that far to say you're all fucking morons at that point because, you know, one side's not better than the other. For a society to thrive and become better, you need both. And the truth is that we all got a lot of owning up to do. We all do. All right? And it's funny, too, because I've had this argument many times as I've gone into media, as I've dealt with other people, as, like, I remember, like, a long time ago, a would-be associate of mine tried to say I was sexist, and I called her out on her shit, and she was like, I know you're not sexist, I know that's not your style, and I said, then why the fuck did you lie to people? Like, I gotta defend my name again and stuff, and I said, after this, I'm not dealing with you no more. After you're on that documentary and stuff, I'm not dealing with you. And even then, she tried to mess with that documentary too, tried to say, like, her cousin was exposed. And I'm sitting there and I'm like this. Well, first off, she signed a contract to be on it. All right? Second thing is, there was no mention of no cousin or any sort of exposure outside of her talking about the job market. Like, she just tried to grasp at straws about things. So keep in mind this. For every sleazeball man out here, there's a lying-ass bitch, too. And she's still out there mad as shit, too. And I'm like, I don't give a fuck. I think she got mad at me, too, for, like, deleting her off of Facebook. And I was like, you don't want to be friends with somebody like that. You don't want nobody like that in your camp, your production team, or anything. And if you do have somebody acting like that, I want to go ahead and say this. Fire them quick. Make sure like they have no hooks in you and all that stuff. Get rid of that person because that person is not going to help you thrive, not going to help you grow, and if anything, more of a problem than other problems. Like, let's just say this, you know, like say like when you're running a business, when you're doing things, you want a good group of people because the people in the company are the culture, are the reasons why that business thrives. The reason why there's a backbone, a strong connection. And the truth is, regardless of gender, sex, identity, or even sexual orientation or religion, you need to accept one each other. You know what I mean? You need to accept each other because you're a team. And the thing is like, I will always look at you as an individual anyway. And the thing is, if you are not doing your part in the production, you gotta go. You know what I'm saying? We'll figure out severance pay and all that stuff, but if you're not doing it, you know, like, you're hemorrhaging money for the company. And this is in terms of, like, business. I'm not talking about personal. See, some of y'all take stuff too personal. And that's really what holds things up. You got to get stuff done. We already know that the project is going to be laborious. We already know that the project is going to be big. We already know, like, any of this other stuff. But damn, I mean, like, when you thrive and you get things done, isn't it a better feeling than like saying, oh, it's too laborious, it's too much for me, I can't get it done, I gotta go home? Why would you do that? I mean, that puts us in a bind, but we'll thrive, we'll get through it. But like I say, at the end of the day, like when the production is finished and all, and if you weren't there throughout most of it, or you had like a mental health relapse or whatever the excuse may be, and I got to be careful with that because mental health is an issue. And we'll dive into that a little bit too. But it's like this. You can take a mental health day all you want to. But you'll feel so much better when you got the project done. I say that to you all out here. You're just going to have to do the best you can. And another thing is, you got people flying off the handle for anything nowadays. So it's hard. It's a struggle. Trying to pull people in and trying to be like, you know, I want you to help me. I want you to be a part of this. I know that you are incredible. Can you do this? And if you can't do this, at least you were honest and I'll have to find somebody else. But, you know, it's like you can't. But at the end of the day, you made that choice and I won't ask you again. Not for that project anyway. You got to keep moving forward and stuff like that. And the truth is, you can't keep aiming for one gender. You got to talk to everybody. You know, that's the funniest thing. You do have to talk to everybody at least once, regardless of any of that stuff that people use to discriminate against each other. You know? Or like even when I'm talking about Stellar Blade and stuff there for a little bit, like leave my damn video games alone, people. I mean, like, for real. Like, you know, video games help get us away from real life, right? Am I the only one that notices that? Like, how escapist it could be? Like, how, like, if I'm playing Final Fantasy IV, you know, I'm dealing with Cecil and Rosa and Rydia and Edge now. Well, Yang is somewhere else now. It's like, I'm in that part of the game. Like, I know where Yang is because, you know, I played this game before, but I've never finished it. This time I'm finishing it. And, but, like, I'm dealing with those trials right now with those different characters. And each and every single one of those characters have a lot of depth to them, and they have been very important to me, because anytime that sad music starts to play in Final Fantasy IV, man, I'm like, oh no, I just leveled you. Why did you have to die? It'd be like that. And you know what? I do that for not only the female characters, I do it for the male characters too. But you know, because Rosa is a beast. Like, I took the time to level Rosa up. As soon as you get like the double spells unlocked, she is incredible, yo. And then not to mention, you can tell why she is Cecil's, well, not Cecil, Cecil's queen. I always call him Cecil, but I heard other people pronounce it Cecil, but I'm like, nah, I think I'm like that turtle that used to fight Bugs Bunny from time to time. So yeah, but Cecil is awesome. And like every single one of those characters in the Final Fantasy series, you know, they're strong and they're brilliant, just like quite a lot of women in like different stories and different legends and all. But anyone that keeps this stuff going, all right, one, they know there's money in it. There is money in it. It's just not as much money, because if you want to make a lot of money, you try to reach to everybody. All right? But I also know there's a lot of insecurity in the world. Like, at the end of the day, somebody that's well-adjusted and that's in control and takes responsibility for who they are and gets things done and understands and acknowledges their failures and say, let's try again another day, you know, that doesn't exist in this world. People don't want that to exist. You can't make money off of somebody like that. You know what I mean? Somebody that shows wellness and stuff. It has to be somebody that's flawed, has body issues, don't feel really good about themselves in the morning, lethargic because they don't eat enough of certain things to make sure that their chemistry's together, and then not to mention have to be in chronic pain one way or another. And then, of course, you know, angry at the opposite sex for whatever damn reason it is. That's a sumbitch we're going to make some money off of. We're going to keep milking that individual forever, because the insecurities outweigh every damn thing else. It's sad, isn't it? But it's true. If you think about it, like all that stuff that's floating around out here, the ones that have a problem with everything, that's the ones they want to go for. Like anybody that's confident, you know, self-aware, knows exactly what they need, goes and handles that problem right then and there, owns up to their insecurities and fallacies, shows up every day to do what they need to do. And I'm not saying show up early. I mean, fuck that. No job out here cares about that stuff. People are idiots. But I'm talking about like the individual that they can really bank on. And you know, media companies go for that person all the time. They go for that person that's going through hell every day. That's what they want. Because that person can be malleable and controllable. You know? And quite a lot of people rarely make it to that whole, hey, you know what? Self-actualization. I am who I am. I'm going to be okay. I know who loves me and I know who don't. See what I'm saying? So it's like really pay attention to these things and see why they keep going for stuff like that. You know? It's just like whereas some people are always talking about like racial discrimination, like how white people don't like black people. Oh, they like black people, all right. You want to know how? You want to know why? Because black people got money. Now keep in mind this. There are black people out here who don't have money and are really going through things and all that other sort of discrimination that you see in terms of like a stereotype and stuff. But there are people that are actually thriving. And the thing is, they're going for them all the time. Because you know what? Biggest consumer. Pay attention. Like, really pay attention to things. Like, when I tell you guys these things, it's not always a joke without merit to it. You know what I mean? There's a lot of reality in that stuff. And the sad part is it keeps going on like this forever and a day. And it's going to keep going on like this until, self-awareness kicks in and then you start saving your money up. It's going to keep going on like this until you realize, like, some of the things you spend money on are not going to get people to like you. It's going to get like this where you realize even if you're rich, people just like you that because they figure they could get rich. It's coattail riding. I guarantee you. And like you'll notice. And see, I noticed that stuff a lot earlier when I started doing these things in terms of J360 and then growing up in Delaware as a kid. Like, some people are not around you because they like you. Some people are around you because of alleged popularity and stuff like that. It's wild, man. And some of us really need to take time and kind of get away from the internet a little bit and really assess our insecurities and wonder why we have these insecurities, wonder why we go through these things, wonder why say you have difficulty forming relationships with women and stuff. Why do you have that issue? What is the handicap? Where did it come from? Or if you have body issues, why do you have body issues and what did you do to cause it and what can you do to fix it if you want to fix it? Some people don't take the time to fix themselves up, but I'm letting you know this because everybody out here and all the people that have followed me and all the fans that I've grown over the years, you guys can become a lot more than what you are. You just need to really see it. And as soon as you see it, don't let it go. I mean, some of us had a long story of trying to love ourselves. I know it. But you gotta have to own up to that. You know what I mean? And I'm just letting you know. Alright? But yeah, that's how you're gonna have to own up to it. You're gonna have to really take a look at everything around you. And as soon as you start paying attention, you're gonna see some of the movies don't hit like they used to. You're gonna see some of these narratives that are out here are flawed, and plenty of these people that try to promote equality and togetherness, they're just promoting that some are more equal than others. That's what they're trying to do. And if you have to resort to using somebody's religion, income, gender, identity, you know what I mean, their job, and all these other aspects and attributes of them, just to exclude them from something, congratulations, you're practicing discrimination. See what I'm saying? I hope you all understand that, because that's why, discrimination of any kind, especially reverse discrimination, like what a lot of these people are out here trying to do, does not equal equality. Does not solve a damn thing. And we're going to keep having this problem until everybody takes the time to become self-aware about it. It's kind of like if you are, let's just say if you're somebody that really likes a certain girl and you find out that she has an OnlyFans and you pay into that girl often. You know what I'm saying? But it could be a whole list of factors. Like, she might have sweet talked you, or at the end of the day, like a honeypot and stuff. Or even then, say it's very intimate. And you're like, oh, you want to see her succeed and stuff like that. So you talk to her and stuff, but she doesn't really say nothing to you. And then I'm trying to pull from different things, but what I'm saying is, if you're paying in to get to know this person and all this stuff, because some people will say well, Jay, it's no different than using Hinge. Right. Well, yeah, it is, because you know why? At least with Hinge is getting the money. She's not. You see what I'm saying? When you're going in OnlyFans, you're just putting quarter in the jar. You're just over there paying for some of the crap that you're seeing and stuff, which in a way you could really get for free, because certain photos float around on the internet for free. And it's when you look at what she's doing and crap, yeah, you're giving her money. You're being a customer. You're Marvin. You're not like I said, some of you, if you've seen the Players Club, see, she ended up going out with Jamie Foxx, but there was another dude on there who looked like a smaller Guy Tori. Well, I don't know his real name, but his name was Marvin. You know what I mean? Some of y'all think you, Jamie Foxx, are gonna date this stripper and stuff, but you're not. You're Marvin. You're paying money in. See what I'm saying? She looks at you as a customer, as a fan, as something like that. And even then, she doesn't know a damn thing about you. You could go ahead and type like them long ass paragraphs and stuff, but once you have self awareness and you realize what sort of game and rat race you're in, pull yourself out completely. It's almost like when all that shit popped off of Neo when Neo broke out of the Matrix, you know? To be a part of Morpheus's crew. It's one hell of a strange rebirth, but at least you'll know. See what I'm saying? It's wild, man. It really is. And try to stay out of those traps because they're everywhere. But like I said, at the end of the day, you know, you also should realize what to not give a fuck about. What an issue is not an issue anymore. And then you also should realize, like, no matter what you do, you're not going to please everybody. And there's going to be people out there that don't like you. There's going to be people out there that love you. And then there's going to be people out there that wish they were you. And that's all over the place. The best thing you can do is just be yourself. Do what you can. Like, a lot of y'all share this clip and this meme from the Boondocks where, like, you know, Huey asked Granddad a question. And then Granddad, instead of being smart with him, looked at him genuinely and said, you do what you can. Do what you can. Try that. And I don't mean half-assing. I mean, like, just do what you can. Okay? Alright. Well, I got to get on out of here, so I figured I'd go ahead and let you guys know a few things. And for all my women out there who would probably be mad at me about this episode, get the hell over yourself, alright? I'm allowed to have this conversation, and it's not just to the men that I know, it's to everybody. You got, like I say, you women out there can learn a lot from me, just as much like I can learn a lot from you. And like a lot of you men out there, really talk to your girl sometime. See what you can learn from her. You know what I'm saying? And I don't mean like how things are on Hoodville. But until then, J-Man's got to go, so y'all take care of yourselves. Peace.